here. Welcome to another Homes Sunday with CCR and CCM. I hope you're having a good time together in your small groups. Let me just draw your attention to a few things that are coming up in the next few weeks. Well, it's the month of mission. We're in the middle of it right now. Please do be praying about all the things that are going on and get involved where you can, please. And also, just to remind you that on Sunday, the 14th of July, we've got no gatherings in Thanet. That would normally be a Together Sunday, actually, but there's nothing being organised to gather in Thanet. But instead, we're encouraging everybody to get on the road up to Canterbury to be part of the Relational Mission Community Sunday, where we'll be gathering with other local congregations across Canterbury and the southeast that are part of our relational mission. That's our church network, but our relational mission community, which is the relational mission churches in this part of the world. You might want to spend some time together as a small group, ensuring that everybody's got a lift there on that day. Okay, to today. Well, on Sunday the 16th of June, we looked at this wonderful but challenging truth that we can enjoy being fathered by God in the way that he trains and equips us. God is a good father who trains and equips us to be like Jesus, and he does that through all sorts of ways, but particularly we looked at how it's through our pains and our struggles and our setbacks that God trains and equips us to become more and more like Jesus. God is committed to your character. He's far more committed to your character than he is to your comfort, actually. He's committed to you becoming more and more like Jesus. Again, to be strengthened, to be trained, to be transformed, to be molded into being a person who's like Jesus. And he does this in all sorts of ways, but also through our struggles and our troubles. And it's worth acknowledging, just like we have been thinking about, that this isn't much fun at the time. When it's happening, it often hurts. But there is a kind of joy in knowing that in God's hands, nothing is wasted, but he's using it for our good. It brings us a kind of a hope and a joy even, certainly a comfort whenever we face setbacks and bad news and disappointments. Because again, God doesn't waste anything. Instead, he uses those things to mold us and train us and equip us to become more and more like Jesus. This is what someone called Madame Guyon said. She said, "It's in the fire of suffering that brings forth the gold of godliness." It's in the fire of suffering that brings forth the gold of godliness. Well, look, I know a lot of you groups have got children in them. So with the children present, why don't you just open up this idea that it's through setbacks and things not being easy for us that we're actually trained in how to live life well. You can ask this. What have you now learned? What have you had to learn through difficulties and through setbacks? And I'm thinking about simple things like learning to ride a bike. It doesn't come naturally to anyone, I don't think. You have to learn through setbacks. It's not easy. You fall off. You sometimes graze your knee. But it's through those setbacks that you actually get good at it. Or learning to play a musical instrument. Doesn't come easy at the beginning. No, when I first started learning guitar, my fingers hurt and ached. And things weren't getting into my brain very quickly, but it was through the pain, if you like, of practice that I got good at it. There's a kids' film, you may have seen it, Meet the Robinsons, and they celebrate whenever one of their inventions fails. They celebrate a failure, and they say that fail can actually be understood as first attempt in learning. Fail, F-A-I-L, first attempt in learning. What they're trying to say is it's only through our failures that we learn, that we grow, that we discover things, that we're strengthened. Well, look, with the children present, just to begin the discussion, what have you learned through difficulty and setbacks. So one of the best known and most loved Bible verses that captures this truth for us is Romans 8 verse 28 and verse 29. Sometimes we neglect to read verse 29 as well. And we're going to unpick that together this morning. I'm very grateful for Rick Warren's The Purpose-Driven Life, and I'm drawing most of the content from a chapter in that book that is called Transformed by Trouble. If you've not read The Purpose-Driven Life, can I recommend it to you? It's a very, very good overview of a balanced Christian life. And this huge topic, a central topic for us as Christians to grow to be more and more like Jesus, is picked up so very well in that book. Romans 8, Paul is talking about the sovereignty of God in all things. And it highlights this truth that for the child of God, if you're a Christian, if you're a child of the living God, everything that happens to you is Father filtered. This is Rick Warren's phrase, Father filtered. So helpful that regardless of the cause of the problems we face, none of them could happen without God's permission. Even if the enemy intends to harm us and knock us off track and cause us pain and discomfort, God sovereignly uses it for our ultimate good. Because God is sovereignly in control of everything, again, this is Rick Warren, accidents are not actually accidents at all. Accidents are just incidents in God's plan for you. Accidents are just incidents in God's plan for you. Well, look, pause the video, read Romans 8, 28 and 29. I'll teach a bit and we'll discuss it. So let's note to begin with what it doesn't say. It doesn't say God causes everything to work out the way I want it to. It doesn't say that. It also doesn't say that God causes everything to work out towards a happy ending here on earth. That's Disney. That's not the truth. Often, sadly, the true happy ending is not here on earth for followers of Jesus, but it's in the new heavens and the new earth. But let's look at these verses sort of phrase by phrase, and I'll unpick some of the things from them. So to begin with, we know. So this isn't based on wishful thinking or a natural optimism or positive thinking. Instead, these verses are grounded in the truth of God, of knowing that God is sovereignly in control over the universe and that he loves us. We can know that. It isn't just wishful thinking. We know that God causes. God causes things. Life isn't just random chance. It isn't just luck or fate. In God, we have a master with a master plan. There's a master and he's got a plan. And then think about this, that God never makes mistakes. We do. We make mistakes, but God never makes mistakes. And he sovereignly incorporates our mistakes into his master plan. Have I got the cogs whirring now? This is big. These are big matters to consider. These are wonderful truths to fill our head with. We know that God causes everything. Everything. Everything is included in his plan. He's a master with a master plan and nothing is left out. It includes our mistakes, our sins, our hurts. It includes illness and debt and divorce and death. What we know is that God can bring good out of the very worst evil. What a wonderful God we've got. He can bring good things out of bad things, who can redeem the very worst of events for good. If you need proof of that, look to the cross of Jesus Christ, the worst evil that's ever been seen on planet Earth, used for the most good we've ever seen. We know that God causes everything to work together, not separately or independently. They all work together in his master plan. None of them is an isolated incident, but part of this complex interweaving of events and people and processes and setbacks and disappointments and confusing times. All of that works together in a process to make us more and more like Jesus. Here's a metaphor used by Rick Warren in Purpose Driven Life, that to make a cake, you use flour, salt, raw eggs, and oil. I'm not much of a baker, but I think that's true. And eaten by themselves, they're pretty distasteful and bitter. I mean, I'm not a big fan of too much salt, for example, or eating a raw egg. I'm not that committed to my protein intake for that. You get the point. They're pretty bitter and distasteful by themselves. But if you mix them together with sugar, they become delicious. And here's the point. If you give God all your distasteful, unpleasant experiences, he will blend them. He will work them together for our ultimate good. So we know that God causes everything to work together for the good. This does not say that everything in life is good. It is right that we call evil evil and bad things bad. But God is a master with a master plan, and he's a master of bringing out good from the bad as we trust and cooperate with him. These things are not good, but God uses them for good. God's purpose is greater than our problems, even our pain, or even our sin. So we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called. So this is a promise for the children of God. It's not for everyone. This promise isn't for people who aren't children of God. Ultimately, if you're not a child of the living God through trust in Jesus, then ultimately things do not work out for the good, but they work in the end for bad. If you insist on living in opposition to God and insist on living your own way, there isn't a promise that things ultimately work out for good. So again, we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose. And what is this purpose that's being talked about here? If we read on, it's the purpose that we become like Jesus. God is committed to your character formation, your spiritual formation of becoming more and more like him. So everything that God allows to happen in our life is permitted for that purpose, that would become more and more like Jesus. The last thing to think about here is a kind of a level of growing up into these truths as children of God. That it's true that when we go through tough times, God really does care for us. It's not like he's standing at a distance telling us to grow up. He's with us, he's comforting us. It's absolutely right that we pray at times of trouble and setback and suffering, that God would comfort us. He's that kind of Father. Of course, he will comfort us. But there is a maturity in praying, not only comfort me prayers, but conform me prayers. Conform me to the image of your Son. Change me through this, living God. And I'd encourage you to be praying those prayers for yourself, not just comfort me prayers, but conform me prayers through times of struggle. Another sort of a provocative idea that I think is worth giving some time to, especially if you're not going through trouble, heavy troubles right now. It's worth doing the work now, because likelihood is they are going to come. In this world we will have trouble, Jesus said, but behold, I've overcome the world. Anyway, is when troubles come, not just, well, maybe not asking why me sort of prayers, why me God prayers, but instead praying, what do you want me to learn through this, Father? What are you teaching me? Where are you strengthening me with this? So less why me and more, what do you want me to learn? Okay, well, look, spend some time discussing these matters. These are often heavy areas to consider, and we need one another as a community to pray for one another and wrestle these things out together. But here's a few questions. Where have you already seen these truths become evident in your life? Where have you seen these things become evident in your life? And then please do give some time praying for each other or others that you know who are going through difficult times, that they wouldn't lose hope, that they'd have the strength to persevere with God through times of difficulty, with the hope of knowing that nothing is wasted in God's hands. Bless you guys. See you very soon.